more of a skirmish. One Shroud Stone did get placed, and here we go. Here is the fight, ladies and gentlemen. If he's not careful here, he's actually going to get caught over here by TV Opa. TV Opa might have the forces. Welcome to Stormgate. I am your host, Korak, and today's map is on Jagged Maw. Starting us off in the bottom right-hand corner, wearing the blue robes and the infernal gloves, we have Uncle Dragoon. His opponent for the moment in the top right-hand corner, wearing the red robe, sporting the infernal gloves. Here is Siegfried. Both fighters ready. Begin. Small heads up for first-time viewers, this is my mixed bag series, where I mix and mash player replays I find or are sent. The only order to them is MMR rating. Let's get into it. It has been a little bit for myself to see an Infernal versus Infernal matchup on Jagged Maw, so not only do we have a much smaller map to see this mirror matchup on, but we also have, well, just frankly, this mirror matchup. I believe the MMR rating of this, and let me check real quick. MMR rating is 1850 to start us off with. So we're a little bit higher than I believe Captain Newbie was. I think Captain Newbie in my previous video was right around 1800s. We are getting actually both players have begun their expansion at identical times. They've begun to get their shrines up, yeah, almost right at the same time. Uncle Dragoon was able to get his up just a little bit beforehand, but that's really about it. And they have both gotten a decent scout on one another. One of these players being particularly more annoying than the other. Siegfried able to get some absolute pestering off on his opponent. I take it back. Maybe Uncle Dragoon didn't make it up to his opponent's base. I may have missed that. And we do have an early Brute moving its way in for some early aggression. Siegfried not wanting to wait for any of this action to start. Brute automatically blows itself up, getting these fiends out on the map. But another Brute is here to counter it. They have still almost identical builds here, almost down to the wire. Uncle Dragoon seems to be the only one left over here in this engagement, but that is not real surprising. He does have Defender's advantage, and he does have plenty of time to build up. There is still an FUG over here by... Oh, maybe I thought that was Siegfried's FUG, but I guess it is not. Siegfried doing a much better job of controlling sort of the center part of the map, which is, you know, over here. And starting to be the first to grab some of these towers. I don't know if I guess he does have the force. He just needs one Brute and a Hexen in order to take out the Shadow Demons for the early Vision Tower. That is obviously going to give him, well, Vision, which will be super helpful if his opponent decides to make his way over towards the center or somewhere else. Uncle Dragoon happy to just take things slow and work on his natural expansions and grab his defensive tower. It seems like his opponent is definitely going to be the aggressor in this, at least in the beginning. The Uncle does grab that field right before the first fight does kick off. We have several Brutes versus Fiends and a Hexen, but it looks like Siegfried is a little bit outnumbered, not wanting to fully engage, but does manage to get a scout with the skull he sends in that direction. I don't believe Siegfried has grabbed any other towers as of right now. Yeah, that does not appear the case. He is grabbing the speed tower over on his side, and let's check his natural expansion. It does seem to be developing nicely. He's got a good number of imps going on both his main and his natural, with his opponent keeping similar pace. It does look like Siegfried has started his secondary natural expansion just a bit quicker than Uncle Dragoon. However, Siegfried has already lost a Brute and a couple other forces, taking towers and fighting his opponent. that won't matter too much in the early game, but every little bit adds up. Every time these players take out another unit, it's more, it's essentially like attacking the economy. It's the war of attrition kind of ideal. It does seem to be that both players are going to have towers at about around the same time. I'm not sure why Siegfried didn't grab the health tower. Maybe he thought he was going to be able to be more aggressive, so he wanted to grab the vision tower and a couple of other things, but that is not really the case. Uncle Dragoon is taking his first adventure into the center section of the map. His opponent is going to be able to see that with the vision tower, so he's going to see exactly what he has. He's going to see all the brutes and everything that he has, and so he's going to be able to take some time to prepare for that fight. Siegfried's still poking around with his Hexen, probably going to send a eyeball over. Siegfried does not want to take this fight. He's definitely outnumbered and cannot beat Uncle Dragon in a straight up fight. It looks like Uncle Dragon also has a little bit better on, or is a little bit better on the economy for the time being, but he is still down one shrine. His opponent has already slapped up a shrine and some shroud stones, some turrets. Those are the turrets for the dragoons. We are ending up with a small engagement over here. It looks like Siegfried is going to try to bait his opponent into a fight maybe that he does not want, a disadvantageous fight, but he does see it coming and backs off in time. More reinforcements are coming over here for Uncle Dragoon, and I believe we are shaping up for one of our first fights, at least hopefully. But it does seem like both Inferno players are relatively happy just taking their time building up. Uncle Dragoon still has not built up his other shrine. There's probably some sort of strategy or idea behind it, but the other side of it though too is that this shrine has not started mining whatsoever. I think it's only been producing imps to go back to the first natural expansion of Siegfried. Those economic gains will slowly matter over time, and it does look like the only thing we missed over here was the tower was taken over by Uncle Dragoon, giving him a little bit of that secondary resource generation. He has completely taken over the center of the map. Let's see if we're getting any upgrades here soon. We have Iron Volts, we have still Iron Volts. We do have a Conclave, we do have a Ritual Chamber for Siegfried. Another Iron Vault. Do we have a ritual? We have two Conclaves for Uncle Dragoon and one Ritual Chamber. So their builds are pretty similar. Uncle Dragoon seems to have gone for just a little bit more on the infrastructure, except for his natural expansion, which he's still a little bit behind. I'm curious what the trade-off is, because at this point he's got to be behind on the economy. One thing I cannot see with the overlay is total amount of resources gathered, which would be nice to see, but then again, that wouldn't account for a couple other things like, you know, units that were lost, like the brutes that Siegfried lost early on in the game. We do have our first Magma Dawn for Uncle Dragoon. I'm not sure. Yep, we do have a match, so these builds are pretty mirrored as of right now. Siegfried has set up multiple defenses, getting ready for this engagement, starting to wall off with meat farms and shroud stones. The longer, though, that his opponent controls this center of the map, the more and more of this Trinium Tower is going to generate for him. And you can see that there on the bottom, it's 375 to 100, but that could also just be Siegfried spending more of his secondary resource than his opponent. Siegfried is also up on energy. I'm unfamiliar with Infernals as a faction overall. I'm still learning very much of a lot of the tricks and trades, so I don't know what Infernals can use their energy for in this early stage of the game. I know Celestials can pop some heals off. I know Vanguard, who I've spent the most time on, can rank up and boost their bobs, their building units. We are starting to get our first little bit of scouting where they're starting their sharking around, but it does not look like Uncle Dragoon wants to fight that at all. His opponent is slowly building his way into the center of the map, putting down FUG after FUG and investing more and more in these Shroud Stones. And it doesn't look like we have any siege units yet for Uncle Dragoon, because that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to fight all of these units and all of these Shroud Stones. We are finally getting a shrine over here to set up the tritium for Uncle Dragoon. And there it is. There's more and more of the walling, more and more Shroud Stones that Siegfried has begun to set up. Hopefully Uncle Dragoon will be able to catch that in time. If he can get those Shroud Stones before they're up, that's going to cost his opponent some money and cost him some time later on. There goes one Shroud Stone down, and the fight has begun. Shroud Stone after Shroud Stone begins to fall. This is very good for Uncle Dragoon, and he didn't have to waste too many units for it. He made his opponents waste a whole bunch of his resources almost for nothing. Magmadon using its trample ability to take out the trees, giving them more room to fight. Uncle Dragoon definitely posturing to get ready for this fight, not wanting to lose his tower, not wanting to lose his Trinium tower. He's going to hold on to that longer and longer. I'm not sure if you can build onto the center. It does look like the effigy stops about center of the map. That would be a shame if that's the case, because that means you wouldn't be able to take over your opponent's area. But I am still learning this game, like I said before, so that may just be my current observation. Maybe the effigies can only go as far as the line of sight. One thing you can't see from the spectator seat is going up and down this incline has a fog of war effect to it. You can kind of see it right here, but for the most part, I don't believe Siegfried can see up here, and I don't believe Uncle Dragoon normally wouldn't be able to see, but he does have the tower, so he could probably see those forces mounting up. And this is a massive set of units for both factions, for both players. If we get a fight here, it is going to be absolutely massive. I don't know if the Magmadons can crush the rocks here or make their way around. I'm not sure. Oh, it does look like Uncle Dragoon has set up some defenses, waiting for his opponent to potentially move around. Let me look here. I think that may be where Uncle Dragoon expanded to, instead of going over here. I believe he expanded to this double Luminite mine, which is probably not the bad idea, and his opponent Siegfried is just behind. We are starting to get a little bit more of a skirmish. One Shroud Stone did get placed, and here we go. Here is the fight, ladies and gentlemen. Magmadon's moving in to start the engagement, trampling what they can, but Uncle Dragoon is getting picked off by those towers. Small engagement did begin, and I do believe Uncle Dragoon was able to get a couple of kills off, but he's not wanting to commit. He does have a couple of Hellborn, which are kind of like the siege units for the Infernals. They take a long time to build up, but they have this large splash ability. They basically throw a very large fireball at their opponent, and that's probably what he needs to start taking out and thinning the herds of some of this, because when those brutes explode, they turn into two smaller fiends, and having some of those AoE attacks will definitely be useful. Uncle Dragoon definitely looking to have more of forces, at least when it comes to attacking power. I'm unsure of the Shroud Stone's effectiveness, as in how many units it takes for Infernals to take out a Shroud Stone. Here we go. There is another skirmish beginning for these two players, but it does appear that Siegfried is outnumbered. We have Magmadon versus Magmadon, and this is absolute mayhem. There are creatures dying all over the place, brutes dying left and right. It looks like the micro is just a little bit better on Siegfried's end, and he has a lot more Hexen to deal some different damage. I believe they also do some hexes, some dot damage over time, and Uncle Dragoon actually lost that fight. He is the first to get out a dragon, though. That dragon could potentially turn this fight. Another unit that I'm still quite unfamiliar with, but it is the flying unit for the Infernals, and I think it's going to be too little too late. Uncle Dragoon has lost too many forces in this fight. The middle has been taken over by Siegfried. That will be extremely expensive for Uncle Dragoon. He lost a staggering number of forces. He does have the infrastructure, he does have the economy to rebuild this, but he is definitely behind on economy, with Siegfried focusing, it looks like, a little bit more on eco. I'm not sure how behind that shrine is compared to his opponent, but he did have 1,000 in the bank ready to go. And the other item of note is that he did not lose all the units that Uncle Dragoon did. Siegfried perfectly happy to begin a sort of base push, taking over the center of the map, placing down 3 Shroud Stones, wanting to take that over entirely, wanting to take that over completely, sort of moving his defender's advantage further and further, moving his turtling up further and further into Uncle Dragoon's base, which also means that he's going to have smaller and smaller supply lines. And for the most part in this game, supply lines are really just where your barracks are, which in this case are the iron vaults. Yeah, I guess if he doesn't put any on the front line, he doesn't have too much of a better... Oh, and here we go. Here is the second large engagement for this match. This is absolutely on the incline, and I'm not sure Uncle Dragoon can see that there are several Shroud Stones up here. He does appear to have the advantage, though, as of right now. He backs off, waiting for those Maglodons to end their trample ability, and he also has a dragon here bombarding the Maglodons from the top. Uncle Dragoon looking in better shape this time around. He does back off, taking the engagement just a little bit more cautiously than the previous one. I believe that was a Magmadon that got trampled there by another Magmadon, which I did not realize could happen. That's kind of funny. It was CC there for a little bit. A couple of the Brutes get caught out in a bad spot. I'm not sure Siegfried was seeing that. He does lose a Brute for free, as well as one of the Fiends that sprout out from it. But even if Uncle Dragoon wins these fights, he still has a crazy amount of defenses to make his way through. He has not started on his expansions over here, sort of opting to leave them out as of right now. He is scouting it, and I believe he's getting ready for to put an imp. Yep, there it is. There's the shrine. He wanted to make sure that it was clear from his opponent, and that was a good call. There were several fiends there ready to destroy them when he needed to. Siegfried got his first set of dragons, so he is a little bit behind on the secondary resource, or at least the upgrades for that. And he actually has some shadow flyers with the dragon. Dragon is going to start picking on the Skull Squisher over here, which will grant him a siege tower if he kills it. He elects to not actually go for it instead, though. No, maybe looks like the Hellbounds are picking on it right now, maybe hoping to get maybe hoping to have the Skull Squisher take some extra pot shots on it. But unfortunately, this Skull Squisher is just getting absolutely bullied, hanging out between these two sets of Hellborn. I believe you still have to capture the tower. I don't think just killing the unit will give you the Skull Squisher. But it would be more in Uncle Dragoon, sorry. It'll be more in Uncle Dragoon's favor if that unit does get taken down. Sure, he doesn't get the XP for killing it, but he can send a small unit over to capture it. We have a couple of imps moving over to the northern expansion, maybe trying to get set up over here, and we have our first shrine in the center taking this contested Luminite. It looks like Uncle Dragoon is more concerned with making his way up there. He sees that he has lost sort of this center part, and his opponent has these vision towers ready to go, and he's begun to set up his own shroud zones. We're getting a little bit of turtling from both players. I don't get to see a lot of turtling in these matches, so this is nice for me to see. The forces are building up. Our third clash is going to be massive if they decide to make a full engagement on one side or the other. More Infernals being moved probably from mine to mine, setting up over here on the Luminite mine, setting up over here on this contested territory, and it looks like a couple of air units have moved over here to start the harassment on the Shroud Stones. I don't think there are really any forces for Uncle Dragoon to defend. Uncle Dragoon seeing that and moving into the center of the expansion. We might see a little bit of a base trade with one taking the center on the left and one taking center on the right. I'm not sure Siegfried wants to commit to this engagement over on the right, but he may not really need too many forces. No, he does not. He just needs a Dragoon and a whole bunch of Gaunts, and it looks like the right side has almost completely fallen. Uncle Dragoon elected to move a little bit further into the territory of his opponent, seeing that his opponent is no longer in the center of the map. He's gone full sin. This is going to be the big fight. This is going to be the one that makes or breaks. I'm willing to bet whoever loses this engagement, and it's not looking well for Uncle Dragon, whoever fully loses this next engagement is going to be taken out of the game. Uncle Dragoon deciding to not fully commit to that and backing up, saving his Magmadon, saving the rest of his units. And over on the right-hand side, the shrine is just about almost down. Those Gaunts getting a free kill on that shrine relatively quickly. Dragons are moving in to start picking on the Gaunts, who are unprotected as of right now. The only thing that can hit the air units... No, it looks like the Gaunts actually can hit the air units. The Gaunts can hit these flying dragons, but they are also supported by the Shroud Stone. Gaunts moving into over on the right side into the natural expansion of Uncle Dragoon, taking out one Shroud Stone, and there's not much here to defend him. Here comes a couple of Gaunts, here comes a couple of dragons, and there are plenty of Shroud Stones here to start the defense. Sharking is continuing, both players moving back and forward in these contested territories on the right side, on the left side, not wanting to fully commit, not wanting to lose their entire armada for this. It does look like Siegfried is being a little bit more aggressive over here, still pushing and prodding with his Gaunts, still moving forward, but there is no melee here whatsoever to protect the Gaunts from the Fiends. I'm not sure it will matter, though. These dragons are doing a good amount of damage. Actually, there's a lot more Fiends here than I realized initially. More and more Fiends are just absolutely chasing down these Gaunts, getting all the free kills they can. And oh no, it looks like a couple of the Gaunts have decided to move forward. Nope, maybe that is an actual decision. Uncle Dragoon has also decided to make an assault over on the left-hand side, moving on the left, moving in on the right, hitting what he can on the right-hand side, getting some gains. He said that you moved into my territory, I'm going to do the exact same thing to you. And both players have made a decent-sized dent into the contested territory of their opponent. The most important part, though, is Uncle Dragoon has maintained control of this secondary resource tower for quite some time. I think in total he's had it significantly longer than his opponent, and we are building up more and more forces over here in the center. I'm not sure what made it all the way over here. Oh, that is actually a camp. Okay, I was unaware of how Uncle Dragoon snuck some forces back there, but it looks like they were just killing the mobs in order to get the speed resources for his opponent. It does look at some points Siegfried was able to take the siege tower. I don't know what happened to that tank. Maybe it got killed as soon as it was spawned. I really don't know. But either way, it doesn't look like Uncle Dragoon was able to get that free unit, that siege tower. That free unit is a, I forget what it's called, but it basically shoots a very large rocket that has splash damage. It's like a beefier version of the Hellbounds, and I want to say its range is actually a little bit less than the Hellbounds, but someone will have to correct me down in the comments as far as the range works for that. Siegfried moving into the contested territory. His opponent cannot see that quite yet. Uncle Dragoon cannot see what's coming, but if they take the tower, that will definitely be a clear sign of where his opponent is, and that's exactly what he was waiting for. Uncle Dragoon poking his head in, trying to see what he can see, but he cannot quite see over that ravine. He cannot quite see over that incline. The fight has begun in earnest over on the left-hand side. Don't want to elect to move on the right-hand side, and it looks like it's Gaunt versus Gaunt, Megalodon versus Megalodon, and this is so many units to keep track of. It's hard to see who is on top of things. It doesn't look like Uncle Dragon is a little bit in the lead for the moment. I think, though, Siegfried has more of the Hellbounds, and there it is. There's the units. There's the V5 rocket launcher, which might be able to tip the engagement for Siegfried, but this is still a lot of brutes to go through. Uncle Dragoon going full send. He's decided that this fight will win or lose him the game, and I tend to agree. He looks like he's coming out ahead, sort of redeeming himself from the last engagement. He is definitely the winner of this skirmish. He can waltz right into his opponent's base if he wants, if we don't get a GG from Siegfried. The assault is continuing. Dragoons and Fiends moving into the natural expansion of Siegfried, moving into this bulwark that he has set up, and he has no response as of right now. There are a couple of brutes moving in, there are a couple of units here moving in, but he's going to lose a good number of infrastructure and a good number of units. Here are the reinforcements for Siegfried, but I think it's going to be too little too late. Uncle Dragoon is able to split his forces and just do crazy amounts of damage to Siegfried's infrastructure, to Siegfried's military. This is all but over. The fat lady hasn't sung just yet, but she may as well have. And it looks like Uncle Dragoon has also begun an assault over on the right-hand side. I think he actually has the economic advantage. He does for sure have the advantage when it comes to all of the units. Siegfried just doesn't know that he is dead yet, or is refusing to give up. I'm not sure how he can make a comeback from this. He has dragons on his front doorstep, knocking on his door. Maybe he's, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is the GG. Siegfried sees the writing on the wall. He throws in the towel. Uncle Dragoon taking that first match for himself. That's the match, Commander. It's time for a quick break before the next piece of action. I'll see you there. Glad to see you made it, Commander. Our next match is back on Jagged Maw, but with a higher MMR rating. This skirmish is powered by Cybernetic Chessboard, the only game where you play against the future. Our first fighter on the bottom right side of the map, wearing the blue robes and the Inferno gloves, the fearless strategist, Kyrus. His sparring partner for the evening in the top right-hand corner, wearing the red robes, sporting the Inferno gloves, the unstoppable contender, Hydra Arc. Both fighters ready. Begin. We get another mirror matchup on the exact same map, but with a higher MMR rating. I misspoke in the previous game. That was a 1750 game. This is a jump of 100 MMR points, moving them all the way to a 1850 game. So let's see what the difference between 100 MMR is on this mirror match. I'm curious to see if we're going to get these large battles, these large back and forwards that we got in the last one, or if these higher level or higher MMR players are going to be able to get some more efficient moves off. There's a little bit less harassment in the previous game than I would like. No one really did too much other than popped a couple of fiends around and did some scouting with their Hexen, you know, some of the more traditional stuff. Both players are electing to go for this health tower that seems to be a standard opener in most of these maps. Because once you take that, you can run back and heal on that health tower, and to take more of the towers or take more of the expansions or to defend your opponent. There's just a lot of benefits for it. It looks like Hydra was able to back his Brute up with only 6 HP. That was some good microing. He was able to save that relatively quickly. And we have begun the engagement on the other towers over by Kyrus. However you pronounce it. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. You can let me know later on the proper way to pronounce it. We are getting our first bit of actual scouting again, sort of our second wave by Hydra. Hydra moving into his opponent's base, getting a good look and getting a nice chomp on some of the fiends, but it's not enough to really do anything, and one gets squished by a brute on its way out. Kyrus is able to grab more towers, or at least he's further ahead on towers than his opponent, than Hydra, but not by much. But I guess the important part is Kyrus is going to be able to take the center of the map, which will help him get this secondary resources, which will help him see when his opponent is coming. That information can definitely be useful. It does look like a couple of these fiends did stick around to get some scouting and to be some pests over here. I don't think they meant to get microed, I don't think they meant to get left there, or maybe he's just decided to give up on them. He's got other things to do at his main base. Kyrus definitely having more in the terms of forces for himself. Maybe Hydra is going for more of an eco approach. That does appear to be the case. He is up on a shrine, and that shrine's pretty well established for him over on his base, so maybe he's just ecoing up and biding his time. But that does give Kyrus more control over the map. He sends several fiends after this Hexen, trying to take it out before really anything, before it can get away. And there they are. They're gonna do the absolute body block, and that Hexen is gonna get taken down. And it looks like, to throw insult to injury, Kyrus is going to grab the health tower of his opponent, getting some HP, getting some healing. And here we go. This is going to be our first real skirmish as of right now. There's not going to be too much Hydra can do. He does have a Shroud Stone out. He does have a couple of brutes building. He's probably stopped building a whole bunch of stuff at the shrine, and the imps have begun to move in and doing some range damage. I think this is going to turn out in Hydra's favor, but he's going to lose a good amount for it. He's going to lose more than he wants, and his resources are going to be disturbed. He's going to get more time to build up his units while the supply lines, while the reinforcements of his opponents are going to have a harder time building up. But since they took that health tower, since they moved in that health tower, they can sort of set up camp there. Kiri's doing a very good job of taking all of his opponent's towers and picking on his infrastructure, moving left and right. There is a Shroud Stone placed down almost immediately, but it looks like it's going to be taken down just as quickly. It's not going to be able to do too much for the defense of Hydra, but it does buy him some valuable time, and it looks like that was just enough for him to turn the scales in his advantage. Curious has lost almost all of his forces over here. He went from being the main contender in terms of forces to having to back up absolutely. Hydra doing a very good job of defending that. He didn't lose a crazy amount of builders. He did lose, I think, 1 meat farm and maybe 2, and then a couple of towers here and there, but nothing really to write home about. His losses, everything considered, were not that bad. Here we go with another engagement right now between Hydroid and Curies. We do have Brute versus Brute, but there are too many Brutes for Curies. There are too many Brutes for Hydra to deal with, as his forces are now the ones being taken out. However, there's not a bunch of damage left here. There are no gods here to help this assault, but I'm not sure it matters. There's plenty of Fiends. There are plenty of Brutes here to continue this, and this is almost a Pyrrhic victory for Curies. Sure, he won the battle, but what was left of his forces got taken out, and I think he's still behind on the economy. Yeah, that does appear to be the case. There are definitely more Fiends over here, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hydra moves into his next natural expansion here soon. Sure, Curies does have some forces here, but he only has 3 Brutes and 4 of these Fiends. They are looking to move into the health tower, and I think they're going to be able to get it. They do have enough time. It doesn't look like Hydra has the forces to deal with him, so he just kind of has to deal with that being taken. He does put a Iron Vault further down on the front line. The good thing Curious has been able to do is he's been able to control the entire map. This whole time he's been getting a whole bunch of that secondary resource, and he's controlled just about every tower on the map. The mobs have respawned on some of the towers, at least on the HP towers. Each time the mobs spawn, I believe they get a little bit stronger, so they're a little bit harder to kill each time around. And oh no, the natural expansion, the imp, gets caught out in a bad position. Hydra tried to move forward, but he did move his forces over in time, but that means that imp is going to have even more time to build up that shrine. Just barely did not save that imp. That imp has 40 HP. It has lost half its HP. Natural expansion has begun for Hydra. That is going to be a significant advantage if he can get that up over on his opponent. I think he is still up on his natural expansion. It does seem to have evened out just a little bit on that natural expansion. Nobody has elected to go for the 2 Luminite mines over here. We saw that happen a little bit sooner rather than later in our previous game, but the higher level players, the higher MMR players, have decided to avoid that. I wonder if that's common strategy. Maybe they don't know what's behind here because there's fog of war on the trees. Maybe it's just too far away, but I feel like the walk is quicker than going over to that 3rd natural expansion, but maybe neither one of them wants to test the waters for moving into that, or it could just be as simple as the game is new and no one has really optimized a strategy for it. One Fiend does actually manage to go over here and take the secondary resource tower for his master, for Hydra, giving him that small bit of boost. That is the primary resource that you use to do a lot of your upgrades, and I think later on some of your units actually require that secondary resource. Things seem to have flipped a little bit on the natural expansion end. It looks like Curious is just a little bit of ahead of his opponent now, to where Hydra was much quicker on that. However, he did get delayed. I take that back. Actually, there's a good number of imps that have moved over here. I'm not sure where they were previously. Maybe they were helping build something, but I don't think I think they build entirely like the Zerg, where they just sacrifice themselves. A whole bunch of fiends are going to help take out the shadow demons, giving some line of sight, giving this vision tower to I had to make sure it was red, to Hydra over Kiri's. Both players seem to have been developing rather nicely. We have a Hellforge for Kiri's. We have 2 Iron Vaults. I don't think the Hellforge is, yeah, heavy mechanical structure that helps him build stuff like the Hellbound. Yeah, the Hellborn, sorry, for him. So I don't think he's gone really into any upgrades whatsoever. We have another Hellforge right there, unless the Hellforge can do those upgrades. I think it's the Conclave. No? Iron Vaults, Conclave, I'm actually unsure. I'll have to play some more games, and I really need to work on what buildings do what, but I don't think I'm the only one in that boat, since this game technically hasn't released yet. I believe it comes out on the 13th. This is a staggering number of Magmadons, and for those who don't know, Magmadons have this trample ability where they can destroy trees. I don't think, oh, they can destroy the rocks right here. It looks like Curious is going for something sneaky. He's using his Fiend to do a small amount of scouting as he moves his army into a better position, but Hydra, sensing something is on its way, has positioned his forces in a good spot, and he does appear to be outnumbered, but this is still a lot of CC to deal with. I'm not sure he has the damage, though, to take them out. I mean, I guess if there's CC, then it doesn't matter how much damage you can do if you cannot get up off of the ground, but he is definitely going to have to deal with Defender's advantage. Hydra is going to be able to push this back slowly but surely. It may take a little bit of time, and Curious is going to be out even more units for not a crazy amount of gains. He's not doing too much with these kills. He's not doing too much for this fight other than just losing units. There are a whole bunch of brutes here for the reinforcement that could tip the scales in Curious' advantage for the time being, but it does force Hydra to back out. No, Hydra decides to take the fight. He thinks that he can win this, or at least he needs to buy himself more time. I'm unsure. It does not seem like a wise decision to go for that fight, but maybe he's waiting on these Megalodons who are moving in right now and starting their CC of the opposing Megalodons and of the brutes over here. Somehow Hydra was able to turn that fight around, and he's just been able to win major engagement after major engagement. Things are looking up for him. He's been able to take almost every tower. The tables have turned almost completely from what they were early on. Maybe the whole goal for Hydra was just purely to eco up, and he was just biding his time to get those economic advantages, and he does seem to have those moving over to yet another natural expansion. There's only a handful of imps moving forward and grabbing that. It doesn't look like we actually have an imp here that may be meant to get healing or get that flower, but he is sort of idle, which I think you actually get a marker on your mini map that lets you know, hey, this unit's idle. But once again, that's something that's easy to see, and a small mistake on Hydra's end, unless he has something specifically for that imp in mind. We also get our first showing of the Harbingers, another unit that I don't know what they can do. Oh, it looks like they're dropships. Oh, so these are the demon dropships. So Hydra looking to move forward into his opponent's natural expansion and start setting up right there. No, he's going to move around behind his opponent and try to get his backline, try to take out some of his resources. This is what I want to see from this level of gameplay. I want to see this level of backstabbing, this dropping these dropships out and moving on. And here we go. The assault has begun, and these fiends, these imps, are completely caught unawares. Between the Gaunts and the Magmadons, they're just going to have to stop their resource building, and a good number of them are going to get taken down. And as quickly as they arrive, the Harbingers leave, getting pushed out by a whole bunch of these Shadow Flyers. Hopefully they can land in time. No? Are the Shadow... Oh, the Shadow Flyers are the suicide bombers. Okay, that's good to know. They're only going to be able to do so much, though, and it looks like the Harbingers are able to get out of the air and get out of the way of those Shadow Flyers, saving them. So it doesn't look like Hydra lost too many units in that. I think he lost... No, he only lost like 2 or 3 Gaunts, maybe. That's definitely worth the trade. He was able to slow down his opponent's building on his main base a good amount, even if he didn't kill all of the... miners, all of the worker units. He was able to delay them just a little bit longer. Hydra moving in back into the center of the map, starting to posture. He does not know, he cannot see what we see, so he does not know the forces of his opponent, which is why he's elected to grab the vision tower once again, and he probably knows that the timer is almost up on the secondary resource tower. He has been able to hold that for quite some time. He has almost 600 of that secondary resource on top of his opponent, and his opponent has actually transitioned over into dragons. I don't know if Hydra has any dragons as of right now. He's beginning his assault on the natural expansion of his opponent, starting to take out some of these Shroud Stones, but elects to back out as soon as he sees those forces move forward. This is a crazy amount of Magmadons on both sides, but the difference being is there is this sort of flying dragon artillery unit ready to go. There are more brutes on the southern side of the fight, but they do appear to be outnumbered. It will be interesting to see what Hydra is able to do with these Megalodons, if he's able to get their abilities off in time. And there they go. They have begun their trampoline, just pushing their way through Kiri's forces. Kiri's forces are absolutely split up. Hydra able to divide his opponent's forces 100%, getting some good kills off here. I'm not sure if he has too much left to kill this flying dragon, this flayed dragon, I should say. And there is the GG. Kiri throws in the towel. He lost fight after fight against Hydra, just not able to deal with the defense and with the fights of those engagements, losing units left and right. Electing to bounce out of the game. He is just behind on resources and units. Commander, time for a short transmission. Match 3 is coming right up. Commanders, the next match is upon us. We are heading into the map Boneyard. This round is sponsored by Robot Rock Bands, turning algorithms into anthems. Starting us off on the bottom side of the map, wearing the blue robes and the infernal gloves, the relentless strategic force, TV Opa. Just as eager in the top right-hand corner, wearing the red robes, sporting the celestial gloves, the battlefield architect. Hi, I'm a dragon. No, I'm not gonna say it the way it's spelled. You can't make me. Both fighters ready? Begin! Our MMR jumps up once again to 1900. On a larger map, let's see how our fighters fare. Not quite a mirror match, more of a traditional fight this time around. We have Hi, I'm a dragon. I'm just gonna call him Hi to be short, or Dragon, playing the Celestial faction, and we have TV Opa playing the Infernals. How did we get... Oh, maybe I'm dumb here. Nope, that is not Celestials. I completely fudged that up. That is actually the Vanguard. I think I even have it written down wrong in my notes. Yeah, I even have it written down wrong in my notes. So that's great. Anyways, it is Vanguard versus Infernals. Infernals tend to want to expand just a little bit quicker than the Vanguard faction wants to or needs to, but it does look like the Vanguards are right behind on the expansion. Dragon is right behind TV Opa in grabbing that. They both grabbed their HP towers. Everything has been standard so far. The only real difference is that I think Dragon has been able to get a better scout off with his dogs. The thing I'm curious about, though, is he gonna go straight into Lancers Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna go straight into Lancers. I've seen more and more of these players dive into dog builds instead, so maybe that's what they've changed around. Oh, I actually did not know you could do that. Apparently, you can set the flag on top of the rally point, I should say, on top of a particular unit. That's actually a really helpful tool. I don't know if I know any other RTSs that can do that. You guys will have to let me know if that's something that's can be done in StarCraft. I do know when you have, for example, the Terran factions, they will set a rally point, for example, right outside their opponent's base. But that's kind of standard. You see that in a lot of different RTSs. I still don't think I've seen one other than this game that allows you to put a rally point on top of a unit. We do have our first transition into the biokinetics lab for the Vanguard faction. Have Infernals. Infernals have their Conclave and their 2 Iron Vaults raring to go. They've also sent out their first little Ghosty Scout to see what it can see. Both players are still posturing to grab all of the free towers that they can. No reason not to. Neither one of them decided to really do any kind of large engagement. I've said it before, but I'll keep reminding people since the game is new. While they may not be able to see everything around the towers, the players can see on their perspective minimaps that their opponent is taking this tower or that tower, and they've almost perfectly mirrored each other in taking every single one of them, taking the energy tower, taking the HP tower, and taking the vision tower after killing the camps. The natural expansion for both factions are developing rather nicely. It looks like we're going to get some barrack blocking off the southern entrance of Hi, I'm a Dragon over here. I don't think this is like StarCraft where that barracks can be lifted up. I'm pretty sure that Terrans can lift up their barracks. I know their supply depots can go down, which is why they're able to be used as walls more frequently. But we're definitely seeing some of those StarCraft tactics coming over in Stormgate. That's not that surprising since this game is honestly Warcraft meets StarCraft with a little bit of MOBA elements tossed in. If you think there's a game I'm missing, that's also something that you can let me know. What your opinions are on how you feel what goes into what. I still think this is like if StarCraft and Warcraft had a baby, and that baby liked to play MOBAs, and that's how we got to where we are. It's definitely an interesting mix, and both players have also elected to side for the Luminite towers on the other sides of the map for each other. I'm curious why you wouldn't go for, say, for why Dragon wouldn't go for this Luminite tower unless he just is trying to avoid his opponent entirely. We're going to see a lot of this with this higher level play with the current metas being developed. These guys are going to have extremely similar builds. They're going to have extremely similar expansion times depending on the faction. Obviously, that'll vary just a little bit. And here looks to be our first engagement, and oh no, it looks like TV Opa is completely undefended over here. His shrine has nothing to set up for it, and a couple of these imps are gonna get caught in the crossfire. Hi, I'm a Dragon able to get some good gains. If he can kill this natural expansion, that is definitely going to delay the Infernal faction. From what I've been able to understand is the Infernals need to expand and need that the Luminite resources much quicker than some of the other factions. Yeah, losing that natural expansion almost for free is definitely going to set TV Opa back. That was a good grab by Hi, I'm a Dragon. He is still... I guess that killing that natural expansion does make him even. No, I take that back. Actually, he is up on the natural expansion. He moved more to his secondary natural expansion while taking out his opponents rather quickly. This is a large number of Gaunts and Brutes for TV Opa. TV Opa may have lost that, but he is not out of this fight yet. He still has a staggering number of forces to deal with all of this. And if I can tell from the HP, I believe, yeah, it looks like the Gaunts are weaker in terms of health. Range damage. I don't think I can see what kind of armor they have. Maybe you can see that when you build the unit itself. It looks like Dragon is electing to go for more of center control, while TV Opa is picking off more and more of these towers, trying to get more and more of this resource, including the secondary resource. Yeah, he does grab that. He grabs the Luminite and he grabs the Trinium. And same thing on the other side. We're getting more and more mirroring of the towers with these higher level players. It looks like Dragon is positioning more and more in an aggressive stance than his opponent. I think he's been the only one to be aggressive so far in this match. That can be a double-edged sword. It can cause you issues rather quickly. But he can also use it to his advantage. If he can put his opponent in a difficult spot and able to pick off a couple of units, if he's not careful here, he's actually going to get caught over here by TV Opa. TV Opa might have the forces, but Dragon cannot tell what is on this side of the fence. These Lancers are going to be able to soak up a lot of damage, but the Exos are kind of in a awkward spot. They get that movement speed, which sort of makes them want to constantly shoot and fire. I was talking to one of my other buddies that plays this game, and he definitely thinks the Exos feel really awkward. I think it's a really interesting tactic to where they constantly have to fight their way out of every engagement because they get that movement speed every time they get the attack. So it's an interesting interaction, and I guess he didn't necessarily say that it was bad. He just felt that it was weird coming from StarCraft. He was a pure StarCraft player for quite some time. The watchtowers have replenished their mobs with their shadow demons. Each time those mobs come back, they get a little bit stronger each time. But they haven't really seemed to be a big issue for either player really at any stage of the game that's not the early stage of the game. We are getting this natural expansion starting to develop again for the Inferno faction. He's got his army here this time, so he thinks that he's not going to have to deal with losing it a second time around. He's probably going to set up some defenses here in a second, I believe. Yep. There we go. Oh, he's setting up a meat farm, but I guess that's going to give him a little bit of a shield. Maybe Dragon will sense this coming and has decided that it is time to go check out this natural expansion once again that is just about ready for. He is still outnumbered just by a tiny bit. He needs a little bit more Lancers. No, I guess there's only one Brute. I guess he could still deal with this rather well, but this is a lot of Fiends to fight. Medtechs are in an unfortunate spot, and I don't know, I kind of would have gone for that if I was just those Fiends, but maybe the Medtechs just have too much HP to deal with that. I think that was a bit of a miss ping. There's no one here to ping for anyone. And here we go. This is the first big engagement of the match. Unfortunately, these medtechs are in a really bad spot. They need to be further in the middle, in between the Lancers and in between the Exos. TV Opa doing everything he can to surround these forces as quickly as he can, but the micro is here for Dragon. Dragon is continuing with this fighting retreat, killing units left and right, turning the tide in his favor, and there it is. It's definitely given him the favor. He definitely has come out on top of that fight. Sure, there are a lot of gaunts left, but taking out that frontal section of the forces, taking out the brutes, taking out the fiends is definitely going to be useful for him. TV Opa splitting his forces, whether unintentionally or intentionally, I'm unsure as of right now. I've heard a couple players complain about the pathing, but I'm not nowhere near as versed in it as the rest of y'all are. And we do actually get another natural expansion. I didn't see the sneaky natural expansion setting up over here for I'm a Dragon, setting up over here on the northern side of the map. I don't think his opponent can see him at all over the walls. Magmadon's using that ability, that trample ability, once again to start killing some of the Fog of War, start killing some of the trees over here. They could already go through that area, but they could not see through that area. And getting ambushed at this point would definitely be a major issue for TV Opa, since he's not going to be able to kite quite as well as Hi, I'm a Dragon because of how fast those Exos are. Both armies just missing each other. I'm not sure if they've seen any little bit of each other just as of yet, but the rear end forces of Hayama Dragon might get caught here a little bit. One Exo is going to get caught out, one Lancer is going to get caught out. That's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, but losing those units is going to be annoying. And Hayama Dragon, sort of sensing the danger that he's in, is going to continue to move forward and try to kill what he can kill. Words are hard. Another Magmadon, 2 Magmadons, 3 Magmadons go down for almost for free. Fourth one starting over here. They're trying the best they can to delay these Exos, but it's just not enough. They just keep getting picked off over and over and over, and I'm pretty sure a good number of these Exos are starting to get some XP built up on them. And this whole time they're able to be repaired by the Medtechs. Hayama Dragon looking in a really good shape right now, positioning to try and maybe pick on this natural expansion and pick out some more of these Magmadons. He was able to get a couple of really good shots off. He's moving his Lancers forward to try to start the engagement, and he backs up just in time, moving those Exos forward, trying to get a concave movement, taking out more and more of the Magmadons. CCing the Magmadons. I'm assuming this Sentinel is what's doing the CCing. This does force Hayama Dragon to back up a little bit. He sees a couple more of the Magmadons going for his Exos, but there's not enough to deal with it. Exos are moving forward and absolutely starting to crush these Gaunts. The forces for TV Oppa have begun to crumble. However, Hayama Dragon has lost a good number of his forces. The Exos, which are his meat and potatoes, the main section that he's worried about dealing with, are still up, and they're going to be able to run around and do a good amount of damage. That means that this natural expansion is exposed. TV Oppa really can't afford to lose this natural expansion for a second time. Hopefully he can move in there and at least push his opponent out, and that does appear to be the case. Hayama Dragon came, he saw, he conquered, and took out a good chunk of the infrastructure of his opponent almost for free, and got a good number of those Magmadons as quickly as he could. Sure, there's a lot of Gaunts here left, and we do finally have some Hellborns, which are the artillery unit for the Infernals. And it looks like the harassment is not done. While TV Oppa is pretty occupied with taking out mob camps and grabbing that tower, he's going to lose a second natural expansion. That has got to sting. Imps are going to try the best they can to get out of there, but the range is here for the Exos, and this expansion is completely taken out. That's the second time Dragon's been able to take out the natural expansion of TV Oppa. That's going to be unfortunate. However, TV Oppa does have his natural expansion over here down in the south, even though he can't keep this one up. He was a little bit later than his opponents. It was a little bit later than Dragon, who was able to grab this natural expansion over here. And I think Dragon is only missing one. No, there's a couple more natural expansions that he can grab, including this one that can only be accessed by air or by dropship. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him try to expand here again in a little bit. But he's happy to just take more of these towers and build up his forces more and more. He's probably looking for some upgrades, for some more units. He's decided to grab more of the Sentinels and moving down to the Trinium Tower. And we might actually get a fight over here in a second. We have Gaunts, and we finally have some Dragons out for TV Oppa. He's grabbing this Siege Tower, which is going to grant him that unit once he kills the mob. And that's actually good timing for him grabbing that, if he can use that. And I don't know, actually, it looks like it's going to get stuck in sort of a bad spot. There it goes. It's destroyed just as soon as it arrives. These Exos just tearing through their opponents left and right. There are plenty of Lancers here for the defense, and everybody is backing up for these Magmadons. Magmadons have used their ability. They're not going to be able to use it for quite some time, probably not for the rest of this fight. If the Exos can take out what's left of the Magmadons, this fight is pretty much theirs. Sure, there is a Dragon here. Sure, there are Hellbounds, but this is looking really, really good for Dragon. Dragon is in a really good spot and even has a heli carrier ready to go for his own air units, possibly to deal with that Dragon. TV Oppa continuing to lose forces over and over, continuing to lose natural expansion over and over. He's just not looking in a great spot. Dragon is just sort of on top of things. He's been able to dominate the map and sort of go where he pleases. TV Oppa was able to pressure Hayama Dragon early on, but it wasn't enough to really do anything. He hasn't taken natural expansions from his opponent. Like I would be sending, if I was him, I would be sending scouts over to these other natural expansions looking to get some gains back, because if he can trade natural expansion for natural expansion, then he can manage to make his way back up. But instead he's just sort of lost a whole bunch of units and has lost a good chunk of natural expansions. And there it goes. There is the expansion by Hayama Dragon. He's building that command post extremely quickly and has started on the Luminite mining. He also has just this massive ball of Lancers, Exos, and his transition, which is into these helicarriers. It looks like helicarriers sort of do as it says on the tin. They produce these little bombers. I wonder if they produce little fighters as well. I also don't know what the defensive capabilities of the helicarriers are. I'm still, as I said before, learning this game very much so. I probably really need to pop in the co-op mode and learn more and more about the factions. That would aid me a whole bunch. All of my knowledge so far is just from casting and just from watching other casters and watching friends play the game. I've got a lot of information from Pig and from Tasteless. Those are the two individuals I've been watching a whole bunch of. And there was another individual I discovered yesterday who my friend was saying is sort of one of the more up-and-coming casters. I was in his Twitch stream the other day chatting around with him and learning more about him as he was casting the and there goes another natural expansion for TV Opa. He just cannot keep anyone there. And Dragon says, I've been here so much, I may as well set up base. I may as well live in this sector since I have pretty much just dominated it over and over and over. The massive armies keep missing each other as Dragon moves further and further into the south. If TV Opa's not careful, he's going to lose another natural expansion. He does set up several Shroud Stones, but I'm not sure they're going to be ready in time, and one gets taken down extremely unceremoniously. They get destroyed left and right, and this natural expansion is all but gone. There's little that they can do to stop it. They're going to try to arrive. They're going to try to hit them in the back, but it's not going to be able to do too much. It looks like the helicarriers can do a good job of hitting both ground and air from what I can see. They have some sort of, I want to call it a Vulcan cannon to hit ground and air, which is really nice. And maybe it's the ejection shells that it is talking about, or that it is using. The natural expansion did get taken out, and there goes the special ability. Several of those bombers getting several really good hits off on his opponent. This might be the final engagement. Opa cannot afford to lose this. He cannot afford to lose another natural expansion, and it's going to happen whether he likes it or not. All of these Hellbounds, all of his forces are going to get taken out by all of this. These helicarriers, these Exos, it's just too much to deal with. I would not be surprised if we see the GG. There is the GG. He could not afford to lose that, and I was correct. He bounced out and decided to give the match to I'm a Dragon. Well played, Dragon. That round was a blast, Commanders. Take a breath, and we'll see you in match 4. It's time to get tactical, Commanders. Match 4 takes us to Titan's Causeway at an MMR rating of around 2K. This encounter is brought to you by Viking Video Calls. Connect with your clan across the fjords. The first to jump into the fray in the bottom left-hand side of the map, wearing the blue robes and the Vanguard gloves, the strategic juggernaut, Just a Swath. His opponent in the top right-hand corner, wearing the red robe, sporting the celestial gloves, the unflinching contender, High. Both fighters ready? Begin! This is our last match in the Mixed Bag series at a much higher MMR rating than we started. We haven't seen this map yet either, so we didn't get another mirror match on the exact same map. We have some variety this time around. And it looks like Just a Sloth is starting his expansion at an extremely similar time frame to his opponent. That's not unexpected from this. We also have our first Dog Scout over here making its way over into his opponent's base. Hopefully we'll get to see some dog tactics. I know dog rushes are not uncommon whatsoever, and this is also super common for the dogs to just run around and pick on everything they can, really just to be pests as much as they can while getting the scouting off. This will be the first time we see Celestials in this mixed bag. And the player we watched last time that played a lot of Celestials, which was Captain Newbie, I believe he was around 1800. So I'm curious to see what High can do, what he transitions into, and just what his general strategies are. One of the things I really love about casting these newer games is I get to discover right along with the player what happens. You know, like as I think it was Tasteless that said, you were going to have a lot of these moments where people discover metas like mid-tournament, and just sort of have these aha moments. That's something in games like StarCraft and Command & Conquer that have been out for quite a minute, that most of the strategies have already been sort of fleshed out, and the games haven't changed a crazy amount since their release, as in StarCraft 2 and Command & Conquer. Sure, you can find plenty of patches that mix the game up, and there's plenty of arcade modes inside of StarCraft, but the game itself hasn't been flipped on its head completely. I'm sure there's been plenty of balances out there that have upset people, but nothing that can relate to a new game like this, a new RTS like this, starting off, as far as discovering these small little bitty new things, these little things that add to the meta. And that does seem to be the first difference we see over here by High. High goes immediately into his sort of levitating tank ships. I'm not sure what to call them. His hovercraft, he goes immediately into these vectors. And they are very fast using, very fast moving units. Their health doesn't seem to be quite as high. I don't know, maybe they might actually be higher than the Lancers. Where are the Lancers at? Lancers at 240. No, they're a little bit less than the Lancers, but the Lancers don't have range and they can't really kite. I think these units have to go all the way back to their base to heal, unless they have a healing tower nearby. And yeah, that does appear to be what he's doing with these vectors as he's floating around and getting all of these towers, getting this vision tower, getting the health tower. He does elect to ignore the trinium tower, possibly going for some of his opponent's towers over here. Yep, that's what he's grabbing right now. He's grabbing the speed resource, which is going to help these already extremely speedy units. I believe that speed buff lasts about 30 seconds, so that's a whole bunch of kiting that they can do. They could probably zip in here over on the base and start getting some things to pick off, and that does appear to be what they're going to do. They do have that speed buff, but they back off just as soon as they go in. They're just testing the waters, poking around to see what they can see. They haven't ran into the Lancers or anything that's real threatening, but they are going to run over here and grab the vision tower that Just a Sloth painstakingly took. And he's going to get it he's going to get it absolutely for free, as he also begins to poke around with more and more of these vectors. And we have him transitioning over into Argents, so it's going to be Argents and Vector, range unit and range unit. I think I said it before in Captain's game, but I believe the Zerg Baneling creatures, the Curie, yep, there they are, were actually nerfed a bit on their armor. It does seem that High is fine with still using them. I've seen on the forums where people say they feel it's the new guys are completely useless. I'm not educated enough on the matter to say so. High has definitely elected to grab a couple of them. Even if they are nerfed, for me, I could still see them being really useful, because we saw in Captain's games where he had these Argents and not much to back them up, not much to stop his opponents from taking him out. And those Curies, I feel, are really meant to fulfill that role, that frontline role. And even though they can't soak up as much damage as the brutes, they can still soak up some damage, giving your Argents just that much more time to deal damage. And mixing in these vectors is also going to help supplement the energy use. I believe they use 2 energy per slot. You can see the energy over here in the bottom left. The Argents is what I'm talking about. To where once they reach the end of that energy pool, they start doing progressively less damage. I believe it's half. So they get all of their main damage dealt early on and then start to fall off really heavily over here. And we're starting to look like this might be our first engagement, but nobody elects to go in as of right now. The dogs over here are doing the scouting, doing the defending for the Vanguard. I'm happy to see that. We weren't able to see dogs by any of the other Vanguard factions. So I'm happy to see them being used here. I believe they also have their first upgrade, which lets them do more damage to some of the lighter units, if I remember correctly, but I think the swirling bit around them is that upgrade they received early. And nope, still, we keep getting teased with these back and forward engagements. High just not wanting to commit to grab that. High has also grabbed some Cabals on top of more Argents. Cabal is another unit I am still yet unfamiliar with. I'm happy to see that these higher level players are grabbing more and more units that I don't normally get to see. 1 good boy gets caught out, 2 good boys get caught out. They did get their scouting, which was their primary purpose. They were definitely expendable, but it was sad to see them go. Just a Sloth and High still sharking around each other, neither one wanting to start this engagement, unfortunately for us, but that does buy High more time to build up his energy that he has used in the small little bitty skirmishes over here. He's also done very good in developing his natural expansions. These morph cores are almost a safer way to move into Luminite areas, which has me wondering if the morph cores, when they get put down, have less. And here we go. This is our first engagement. We do have a little bit of picking off of the dogs, and we have our melee units moving in and after each other. 1 Lancer goes down. The picking is continued. A couple of good boys get taken down in that fight, while High begins to dance around this Luminite tower. That is not his objective, though. He's going to continue to try to pick this off. He needs to get to those Exos, but the dogs are definitely a threat as well, since they probably have that upgrade. There are plenty of med techs here to help the Exos, but the Exos get taken out rather unceremoniously, get killed left and right. Most of the vectors are down, but I'm not sure High cares. High has what he wants. High is transitioned into Cabals. He has plenty of these Argents to work as sort of the meat shields, and what little Curies he did have served their purpose. He was able to push out and get some good kills on just a Sloth and take back the tower, the Luminite tower, sorry, the Trinium tower, which is that secondary resource, that equivalent to gas in StarCraft. Which is going to help him with his upgrades. I believe the Celestials are just a little bit more Trinium heavy than some of the other factions. They're definitely way more energy heavy, having to build these, where are they? Yeah, power banks right there. Which also recharge the Argent's shots, and whoever uses like the Cabal shots over here, that's another unit that will use those power banks to slowly recharge. That also sort of like that also sort of sets up the Celestials, in my opinion, to benefit greatly from hanging out around their base, as in their defender's advantage might be even stronger. But I was actually told in the comment section on my last videos that the Infernals, the reason why they put down those FUGs and get what's basically their creep on the ground, is they get a little bit of health and armor as sort of like their home turf, their home ground bonuses. So that's why we saw a couple of Captain Newbie's opponents start by putting those FEGs down early on in the fights. And it looks like the natural expansions for both players are going to be attacked about the same time. These Curies are going to move in and start attacking the Bobs, and they're going to be the only engagement. High not knowing where his opponent is of right now. He can probably see that some of these towers are starting to be taken, but may not know how many forces are over there. Couple of Curies go in and take out a handful of Bobs. Nothing real major as of right now, but we do have a Arc Fortress and a Archangel over here by High. High pulling in all of the big guns, getting ready to take out this poor little natural expansion, and I'm not sure the forces of Just a Sloth are going to make it to him. He's sort of proving his namesake over here to where he's just gonna be a bit too slow to the party. Sure, the dogs are here, but they're isolated as the command post begins to take it down, and there goes the natural expansion for Just a Sloth. High getting it almost for free with this extremely very large unit, this heavy mechanical structure floating around. And looks like Just a Sloth is posturing. Maybe he thinks that he can take this engagement. I'm not sure he has the forces to do this. However, he has these Vulcans. If these Vulcans can get set up, they get a bonus for firing the longer they sit still, but I don't think High is going to allow that. I don't think High is going to allow them to sit there and do that. And here we go. The engagement has started. Archangels have dove into the fight, and the Cabals are beginning to push back and whittle down the forces of Just a Sloth. Forces go down left and right, units go down left and right, but this is still a lot of Vulcans. We're having a sharking match moving back and forth between these two opponents. He's probably waiting, High that is probably waiting for his Archangels to be able to hop back up and hop onto the forces of Just a Sloth. High right now is on top of things. He is definitely winning this early section of the match. Not by leaps and bounds, but he's been able to whittle down the forces of Just a Sloth over and over and get a couple of free kills. He got a free kill on the command post, slowing down the Luminite mining for his opponent, so that's going to be super great for him. High taking the tower back from his opponent, taking the tower back from Just a Sloth, and starting to position his way. Actually, he can't make it past the trees. I don't know what unit has to break the trees. It does not appear to be the Archangel. I don't know who for Celestial is supposed to break the trees for them. Archangels are going to sort of poke around and see what they can see and do a little bit of scouting. I think they were wanting to engage, but then they saw the forces of Just a Sloth and elected to back out. Still nothing to kill these trees unless this Arc Fortress can do it, but however, the Arc Fortress can be above and start taking out another command post. If it is isolated, I believe it will be taken out, but it might have enough time to take out the command post. These Vulcans doing just a fine job of taking out the trees for High. That might actually be a mistake, because now High's forces can move in, and there goes the Arc Fortress taken out almost for free. These Vulcans just doing a crazy amount of damage. One Archangel hopping in and dying just as quickly as he got there, but the primary force of High are still here. He did lose that very large structure, which is unfortunate, and he was not able to kill the command post, but the trees at least were opening up for High, and High has just this massive ball of forces. I'm not sure, unless Just a Sloth gets really lucky or High makes a major mistake, I'm not sure he's going to be able to win this engagement at all. Even with the defender's advantage, he's only going to be able to do so much. However, High is being extremely cautious of those Vulcans. He knows the damage that they can do, and if Just a Sloth is smart, he's using his upgrades on either his melee units, on his Lancers, which I don't see very much of, or using them on his Vulcans, which which does not appear to be the case as of right now. High does decide to back over to his base, getting his towers, retaking those for himself, and High's done a very good job of setting himself up all over the map. Granted, he just has to move a Morph Core over there in order to take that, but he's definitely got to be up on eco when it comes to Luminite, and just seeing all of these Argents followed by Cabals is kind of ridiculous to see. Not that Just a Sloth has a small force, but at least compared to his opponent, this is a lot to deal with. Just a Sloth missing his opportunity. A good number of the forces were caught in a unopportune location, but they were able to get out just as quickly. It looks like High has transitioned into grabbing some of these Saber units, another unit I am unfamiliar with, and High has decided to sacrifice a whole bunch of his Argents, maybe thinking that he could not get out in time. I don't believe This is the only other front that is being attacked by just a sloth. He's got these hornets doing some minor picking here and there. I'm not sure why High wasted those Argents. Maybe he thought a larger force was coming his way and he was about to get pincered and he wanted to stop at least part of the force to save himself some time. And here we go. This begins another engagement, but they do not want to commit whatsoever on each other. They're looking for that perfect opportunity. High knows that if he makes a big enough mistake, that the skill level of the players he's up against will be able to capitalize on whatever mistake he does make. He should move in here soon. It looks like he's trying the best he can to bait out some of the forces of Justice Sloth, but Justice Sloth is deciding to not take the bait whatsoever. High has decided that he is no longer going to wait around and he's begun this engagement. I still think that he wins this if he fights it, but maybe he knows something that I do not. Maybe he's just worried about losing a good chunk of these guys. I would be picking on some of this infrastructure if I could, but he's probably just trying not to get caught up in anything super ridiculous as the game progresses. Arc Station is back up for High. He's got more Arc Stations, he's got more Argents, and he's got a handful of these Sabers. I don't know what role the Sabers host for the Argents, maybe, or for the Celestials. Maybe they are a artillery unit. That will be remain to be seen here in a little bit. And the infrastructure is starting to be taken out by High. Justice Sloth needs to do something. Right now, he's just poking in and around, but he cannot find a good position to move in on High, which means High is going to be able to get this natural expansion down for a second time and gets it down almost for free. Justice Sloth elects to not fight that whatsoever. He just backs off, giving it to his opponent. That's going to hurt his resources even more. These little bitty whittling down, this cautious move that High is making is buying him a lot of resources, is buying him a lot of time. And it looks like High has decided to set up power plants to begin what might possibly be his final assault. He's setting up a base, a forward operating area for him. A whole lot of Hornets do look like they were doing some harassment over on the northern side of the map, but they need to be helping fight this massive force that is moving into their main base. There it is. They have made the turn and they are poking around, and here it goes. They're beginning the engagement, and this Arc Station gets caught out once again and taken down just as quickly. High just not finding great opportunities, not finding great purchase in those Arc Stations, losing them left and right. However, Justice Sloth still continues to lose crazy amounts of units. These Hornets are going to be a problem to be dealt with, but they are getting taken down left and right. This is still a lot of Argents to deal with. This is still a lot of Sabers to be dealt with, and Justice Sloth, I believe, is about to lose this if he's not careful. Sure, he has a helicarrier here, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to help him. The main section of his forces are being taken out once again, and after they are dead, there will be nothing left to stop High from moving into the base. However, High is still losing units left and right and needs to deal with this helicarrier if he can. But he's still focusing on the ground forces. Maybe none of these forces can hit anything in the air. Nope, that does not appear to be the case. It looks like these Argents can take it out. And there goes the helicarrier. There goes the last line of defense for Justice Sloth. I don't think there's anything left that he can do. Sure, he can take some time and build up some units. I know there's not a crazy amount of units left for High, but he's lost a lot of infrastructure. I'm not sure I see a way to come back from this. High continuing his assault, picking, poking, and prodding everything that he can get his hands on, trying to capitalize on all of the games he can, and gets a handful of Argent reinforcements, possibly looking to take out the another natural expansion, which could bog him down. There are a lot of dogs here, but they're only going to be able to do so much damage to these Sabers. These Sabers are heavy, and the upgrade for dogs, I believe, only works on light units. Sabers getting caught in sort of a bad position, but maybe they are set up there to help defend against the Argents. I think the Argents are also heavy armored as well. So I'm not sure what the dogs are going to do. Maybe they were just cheap and easy produced. I say that, and most of the forces for High do get taken down over here. There is the GG. That is our last match. That is our last round. Somebody has thrown in the towel, giving the game to their opponents. Thank you for tuning in, Commander. I have been your host, Korak. Transmission out.